Hello everyone, I'm JG and welcome back to Music Forever, where today we're reviewing the new album from Judas Priest, Firepower. This is now the 18th studio album from Judas Priest, and this band has been around for many decades now at this point. They're just a classic group in heavy metal music, and just music in general, I would say, at this point. And unfortunately, when it comes to most groups that start to reach this age, lots of times they just, many times, if they are still together, just get by putting out, albums that sound a lot like their earliest works, their best works, just kind of repeating the same stuff over and over again, just because they have a hardcore fan base that will eat that stuff up. Really, they don't really need to put out something new or innovative at this point in their career, really, after having several decades in the game, really. However, Judas Priest here on this album, while to an extent there's nothing really all too new about the sound of this project, I think that they managed to deliver a really, solid project here with Firepower. This album sounds like what a Judas Priest album I would expect it to sound like in 2018. It has a very modern, polished production to it, but at the same time, it has that typical Judas Priest sound, which, while I mentioned before, it is, their typical sound. Really don't exactly do anything all too new or out of the box here on this project. It's performed very well, and for that reason, the project is just very enjoyable throughout. And I like how they managed to have a wide array of different sounding songs on this thing. You have some more upbeat tracks, like the title track, for example, that kicks off this project. It's a great way to open up the album. And you also have some more slower tracks as well. One of my favorites particularly is the closing track, Sea of Red, which is just a very nice way to end the project. Rob Halford's vocals are just easily one of the strongest points on this album. Despite the fact that the guy is getting up there in age now at this point, he still sounds great. He still, sounds a lot better than lots of younger artists out there. And his vocals are one of the highlights of this project overall, I would say, along with the guitars. The guitars on this thing sound great as well. Mixed with the production on this thing that has a bit more of a modern edge, I would say. The guitars just sound very clean, very nice, very in your face. And with the great guitar solos and riffs that you get on this thing, it overall just works out very nicely to make a very enjoyable product overall. Another thing I really like about these songs is the fact that they are very catchy. Many catchy choruses, just many memorable guitar parts and drum parts, like I said before. It just easily gets stuck in your head, and despite the fact that I've only spent a few days with these songs at this point, they're pretty much ingrained themselves in my head, which is always a sign of a good song, when it gets stuck in your head easily. For the most part, that is. When it comes to any complaints I have with this project, there's really not all too many. But there are a few minor ones. For one thing, I feel like the project could be maybe a little bit shorter. This project just runs a little under an hour in length, which isn't, crazy long or anything like that for an album, but I do feel like maybe a couple tracks could have been cut out here and then maybe released later on as like leftovers, B-sides, something like that. And overall, the project still could have kept a lot of the different sounds it has, and it would have just been a bit more concise and to the point, which I think would have made it a little bit stronger. It's not that big of a complaint, but it is a small one that I have. Also, the track Evil Never Dies, I just feel like the lyrics on this track are a bit corny, and I mean, like I mentioned before, Rob Halford's vocals sound great, but even his great sounding vocals can't really help kind of corny lyrics here on this track. They're not awful, and I do really like a lot of the aspects of the track outside of the lyrics, but that was a little bit of a weak point in my own opinion. So overall, I'd have to say that this is a very solid album from Judas Priest at this point in their career, given that this is, like I said earlier, their 18th project, being released in 2018, many years after they've started putting out music into the world. I think it's just a really solid effort overall that I think fans of the band and heavy metal music in general are going to enjoy. And I have heard rumors that this may be the group's last album. I don't know how true that is necessarily, but if this is going to be their last album, I think it's a very strong way to go out, just because I feel like this is a very nice album. It has that Judas Priest sound to it, but at the same time it sounds a bit modern. It does a lot within that, Judas Priest sound. Really, you have some slower tracks, you have some more aggressive, exciting tracks. It does a lot, and I think for that reason, it'd be a good closer to this group's discography if they wanted to make it that. But I feel like if they also wanted to keep going and make another album, they could as well, I guess, if it maintains the quality of this one. But yeah, if you're a Judas Priest fan, if you're a heavy metal fan, I think you're going to enjoy this album, so you should definitely check it out if you haven't done so already. Though guessing that this is, Judas Priest we're talking about, you probably already have checked it out, just because, it's Judas Priest. There's not much to say about that. Yeah, and if you enjoyed this review, I greatly appreciate if you leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future album reviews and other music-related content. Thank you for watching, guys, and stay golden.